I turned moldy bread into a living fertilizer, and honestly, my soil exploded with life. There's this strange joy in turning something most people would just throw away into a powerhouse for your garden. So, a few months ago, I found an old loaf of bread tucked way at the back of my pantry. Gray, fuzzy, and yeah, definitely past its prime. Most folks would have tossed it without a second thought, but I saw something else: life. That moldy bread became the spark that led me to create one of the most effective living fertilizers I've ever used. Today, I'll walk you through exactly how I did it, why it works, and, how you can do the same. Whether you're a beginner gardener experimenting with homemade solutions or a seasoned grower looking for a microbial edge, this living fertilizer is something you'll want to try. Before you wrinkle your nose at the thought of mold, here's the truth. Mold is a sign of active microbial life. Those fuzzy white, green, and blue patches are colonies of fungi and bacteria breaking down organic matter. In nature, that's exactly what builds fertile soil. When you see mold on bread, it means you're looking at decomposers at work. Tiny organisms that transform dead material into nutrients plants can use. The same fungi responsible for that bread mold are close relatives of soil fungi like Penicillium and Aspergillus, both masters of nutrient cycling and decomposition. So, instead of viewing mold as rot, think of it as potential. That loaf is a starter culture waiting to be unleashed. Turning moldy bread into living fertilizer is really quite an exciting process. The method I developed is simple, affordable, and surprisingly fast. It's inspired by Korean natural farming and indigenous microorganism methods, but adapted for everyday gardeners using what's already in your kitchen. So, here's how I make it. Step 1. The bread base. Start with any old bread, preferably one that's already showing some mold. White, brown, or whole grain all work fine, but avoid bread with preservatives as they slow microbial growth. Then, tear the loaf into smaller chunks to increase the surface area. Step 2. Encourage the microbes. Place the bread pieces in a shallow container or bowl. I like to sprinkle a handful of garden soil or compost over it. This introduces a diverse microbial population and gives the bread's native fungi something to collaborate with. Step 3. Cover and wait. Cover the container loosely with a breathable lid or cloth. I use an old paper towel held in place with a rubber band. Leave it in a shaded warm spot like a kitchen corner or shed for about 3 to 5 days. Within that time, you'll see the bread come alive with fuzzy white, blue, and green mold. Don't worry, that's the magic happening. You're cultivating a thriving microbial colony. Activating the culture, feeding your microbial army. Once your bread is well covered with mold, it's time to activate and multiply those microbes into a form your soil will love. Go ahead and break up the moldy bread into small pieces and mix it with an equal amount of brown sugar or molasses. Now, this step might seem a little odd, but it's actually crucial. The sugar acts as food, helping preserve and multiply the microbes by creating an osmotic balance that keeps them dormant, yet alive. Store this mixture in a loosely sealed jar at room temperature for 3 to 7 days. You'll notice it start to ferment slightly. It might smell sweet, earthy, or even a little tangy. That's your living fertilizer concentrate forming. Turning the concentrate into liquid fertilizer. Now that you've got your microbial concentrate, it's time to bring it to life in your garden. Take about 1 tablespoon of the mixture and add it to a liter, or about a quart, of non-chlorinated water. Stir gently, and let it sit for a few hours to allow the microbes to activate. So, this solution can actually be used in 2 main ways. First, as a soil drench, just pour it around the base of your plants to feed the soil microbes and really boost root growth. Second, you can use it as a compost accelerator. Just add it to your compost pile to speed up decomposition and, help reduce odor. Within just a few days, you'll start to notice more earthworm activity, a richer soil texture, and even improved plant vigor. That's honestly the result of reintroducing beneficial microbes back into your soil ecosystem. So, why does this work? Well, here's the science behind living fertilizer. plants don't just need NPK, that's nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, they actually rely on soil life to unlock those nutrients. Living fertilizers like this one focus on microbial balance, instead of just chemical feeding. The molds and bacteria you cultivate from bread help break down organic matter by decomposing plant debris and releasing nutrients in forms plants can actually use. They also improve soil structure, since fungal hyphae bind soil particles together, creating air pockets and better water retention. Some fungi even release natural antibiotics that help suppress harmful pathogens, giving your plants a boost in immunity. And, not to mention, certain microbes form relationships with roots, which enhances nutrient uptake and resilience. Pretty cool, right? What's fascinating is that by using moldy bread, you're essentially domesticating wild microbes, training them to work for your garden. It's low-tech soil science at its best. After using this living fertilizer for just 4 weeks, I saw a transformation in my test bed. The soil turned darker, more crumbly, and had that unmistakable forest floor smell, rich, earthy, and alive. Seedlings that usually struggled through the first few weeks suddenly thrived. My kale grew thicker leaves, the basil was greener, and even the stubborn corner where I could never get much growth came back to life. What amazed me most was how consistent the results were. This wasn't a one-time miracle, it was a sustainable system I could replicate over and over again, using something as ordinary as old bread. One of the most satisfying parts of this method is just how regenerative it feels. Instead of buying expensive fertilizers or microbial inoculants, you're working with what nature already provides. Every loaf that goes moldy becomes a resource, not waste. You're closing a nutrient loop, transforming kitchen scraps into living soil health. That's really the essence of regenerative gardening and the spirit behind Soilsage Chronicles, working with nature, not against it. From my trials, here are a few lessons learned that can honestly make or break your success. First, use clean, natural ingredients. Avoid bread with preservatives or bleach. Never seal the container airtight. Microbes need oxygen. Keep the environment warm and shaded since direct sunlight kills beneficial fungi. Always dilute before applying because this living fertilizer is pretty potent, so use it sparingly. And finally, combine with compost to amplify the microbial diversity even further. Remember, you're not just feeding plants, you're cultivating an underground ecosystem. So, the bigger picture here is really a soil revolution that starts right from the kitchen. When I first started Soilsage Chronicles, my mission was honestly pretty simple, to show gardeners that soil regeneration doesn't require expensive products or advanced technology. It all starts right at home, with a bit of curiosity, some creativity, and yeah, just a touch of microbial magic. This moldy bread fertilizer actually became one of those breakthrough experiments that reminded me why I fell in love with soil in the first place. Every single time I pour that living brew into the soil, I know I'm adding life, not chemicals. And honestly, that's what sustainable gardening is all about. So, ready to try it yourself? Next time you find a forgotten loaf in your kitchen, don't toss it, transform it. Just follow this guide and see how quickly your soil responds. You'll be amazed at the power of what most people call waste. And, hey, if you found this guide helpful, make sure to subscribe to Soilsage Chronicles on YouTube for more regenerative gardening experiments, soil hacks, and natural farming tricks. Go ahead and hit that bell icon, share this with your fellow gardeners, and let's keep building living soils, one moldy loaf at a time.